Your girl decided to have a theme of the month, and that's to get this bar done. So we have already done the subfloor together, we have demoed together, we have built a roof and prepped the electrical. And today I'm gonna show you how to... Hi, this is the intro because this is what I look like doing drywall. Anyone watching this video, it isn't for a professional installation of drywall. It is to show you how when somebody looks up and attempts to DIY it for the first time ever, this is how it goes. First thing is first, made a Home Depot run, grabbing all my materials that I need, and it's really nice to talk to people there that actually know what they're doing. So I had a gentleman that actually did drywall for 25 years kind of walk me through the process and pick out the products for me, which was really lovely. What I am doing first is bringing in full sheets, and I am seeing how many full sheets I could use before I need to cut all of the pieces down. Now, obviously you want to trim it down the drywall to the size of your studs so you aren't having like this excess overhang that's not attached to anything, because that will be floppy. You want to make sure that when you have the ends of your drywall, you are securing it to every stud. That way there's no like movement, if you will. Then went in with the appropriate length drywall screws, secured it to the studs, and cut out where I installed outlets previously to make sure that that drywall was flush to the studs. I am using a drywall T-square to make sure that I'm just hitting the studs every time going down, and I am also using it to have a perfect line when I do cut with my drywall razor to break down the pieces that I need to. Before adding that second sheet up top, there is a hole there that was for a chimney. I'm adding a 2x4 because that will be how I add the circle on the outside of the shed to basically seal this circle opening up. Drywall is fairly tedious and straightforward, and it is very repetitive. So it's nice because me being such a noob to this, I was able to kind of get in the swing of things and find my groove after doing things a couple of times. I know it's like cutting down drywall and putting in screws, but it is actually fairly difficult when it is your first time doing it. So if you're trying drywall for the first time, just take it slow and steady, because that's what wins the race. You never want wiring to be sitting on top of a 2x4. You want to really run it through like I have before, but because I couldn't do that in this corner, I chiseled it out to ensure that the electrical wire could fit nice and flush, and then I put a metal plate on top of it, so when I go to install the drywall, I'm not going to be screwing through the 2x4 and hitting electrical. That's like the last thing you want to do. If you do need to cut a side down, you want to make sure that that is not the side you are lining up with the quote-unquote factory side. You want the fresh, clean factory edges, which is just how the drywall comes, to be butted up against one another if they need to touch. So that cut piece that you see me even sanding down to make level, that's like going up towards the roof. It's not touching any other pieces. I'm sort of laugh crying because this video looks so easy, but this is a good 2 weeks of my life. But I really couldn't have done it without the help from our sponsor today, HelloFresh. Before HelloFresh and I even worked together, I am a loyal customer, and the reason being is because I love the time that I save, the prep that I do not have to do, and the fact that I can get out of my recipe rut. I am all up in the app, changing my delivery days whenever I need to, picking from all the recipes that they have available that change each week, and you can even be on the lookout for more quick and easy meal solutions like their oven-ready and 10 to 20 minute meals. Hands down, one of my favorite things to do after a long physical day such as this is making an incredible dinner right from the comfort of my home and enjoying it with this beautiful desert sunset. If you guys want to join in on this goodness that I am always raving about each month, you can go to HelloFresh.com and use my code METZ12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's METZ12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping.
I mean, how yummy. Hi. It's a nice first encounter, but I'm not going to press it. So here's water, and here's another one. And I'll see you shortly.
That is how you feed what Miss Jess calls it Gary. Mine look like blondies, but he's a cutie. He's like the most active one, I feel like, over here. So I'm gonna keep working if I have more interactions with him, but I just become very patient. So even though that took a little bit, I like to sit and get the critters used to me because I want to be able to feed them peanuts. They love peanuts. Okay, back to drywall. To put it in Rach Babe terms, now we are going to be sealing the seams because you need essentially like a covering over it to create a joint of the wall to then create an entire wall without all these seams popping up. I'm taking some joint compound that I should have thinned out now looking back, but again, there's first time for everything, and I'm running a decent amount along where all the drywall meets. I'm taking it slowly because when I do one line, I'll go back in with this tape, and it is like drywall tape, it's not like sticky tape, and press it directly over the joint compound. Once I had the tape in place, I went over with a drywall knife just to smooth it out completely so the tape fits right onto the compound nice and flat. You want to take this little by little, and if the tape kind of gets bunched up, you can slightly tug it to flatten it out and continue. I do want you guys to keep in mind that this is the first time I've done any major drywalling like this. I have done patches before and shown you how to fix that, but this is a whole new ball game. Like I said, practice makes progress. It doesn't make perfection quite yet. And I'm not upset about it because of this being a smaller room. It's the perfect sample size for all the things that I want to test first go, share with you, and share my failures, my wins, all the things. I let that dry in its entirety overnight before I moved on to opening up a new thing of joint compound and thinning it out for the next 2 rounds of quote unquote mud. I'm going to be thinning this out to be like kind of a thicker pancake consistency. I think I'm gonna get more out of it versus doing that chunkier, like as it comes version. This is just gonna make things easier to work with. I am going in with a larger drywall knife this time and basically running a very thin coat over the top of that tape to cover it, and we are going to let that dry. Okay, I'm gonna do the rest off camera. I'm about to lose my mind with how messy I am. I'm just over it. It's just that sometimes you just get over it. The reality of the mess. I need to go to Home Depot tomorrow and get one more sheet of drywall, but I'm not mad. This will be my sample wall, if you will. It's small, it's not overwhelming. It's nice to do all the steps because this wall you won't see, so I'm not too concerned. I'm not gonna do a skim coat. It's gonna be completely covered. I will be doing a full skim coat tomorrow on this wall and this wall, but I need to go to Home Depot in the morning. Why this wall is not done is because I have so many thousands of dollars of electrical work needing to be done in order to get everything up to code and run properly. So I'm gonna wait till they tear into this wall to put the breaker box in for this room, hence the focus on these two. After letting that dry completely again overnight, I went in with a dry knife with nothing on it, and I started to lightly basically skim the mud that is now dry to remove any chunks or unevenness or anything I can kind of avoid sanding down before I decided to sand that layer down and then add the second coat on top of that tape. I then repeated the same exact process. I went over everywhere that was mud to fill in the air bubbles and the unevenness. I let that dry overnight, and then I really went in with a drywall sander and a 120 grit pad and just took my time making that nice and smooth before we got into the whole skim coating process. I upped the ante and got a big beefy boy bucket of joint compound, thinned that out to be a true pancake batter consistency, grabbed my paint roller and a roller, and it'll all make sense in a second. Once the seams are dry and sanded down, that's right, we're heading into the skim coat, and that is legitimately painting on this joint compound. And if I were to have just left it, you see the texture as is, that is actually how Dennis got the texture to the before of this room. He rolled on the texture. I am actually going to be rolling on the texture, coming back in with a large drywall knife and smoothing that out layer by layer, taking my time because I do not want any texture on these walls.
So you can totally tell the difference. And you can start to see where I missed spots. So I'm gonna go back in tomorrow, but I'm gonna let it fully dry. So that's with a skim coat. I'm not doing a skim coat to this one because this is gonna be fully covered. So we're just gonna focus on this and this wall.
Once again, I am letting this dry fully overnight, and I believe that's why this is taking so long for me. I just didn't want to risk anything. So after it was dried, skim coat 1, I went in with a 220 grit drywall sandpaper and made that completely smooth. Then I repeated the process for 2 more times. So in total, there are 3 skim coats on this, one on top of the other, but I'm doing the same thing, so it basically took me 3 days. I'm doing 1 skim coat, letting it dry, sand. Another skim coat, letting it dry, sand. 1 more coat, letting that dry and sand it down before we can get into the design and painting. Tomorrow, 1 more really thick coat. I still think I'm doing these too thin, but I don't want to tap on too much and then it like dries aggressively and can crack, like if too much gets on it, you know? This is the second skim coat. The first one was, I think, way too thin. Way too thin. And I'm happy I'm doing this at sunset so it doesn't stay wet. I really like taking it wall by wall so I can learn from my mistakes. I finished off that smaller wall and then moved on to the window, and I just felt so confident. Now that the skim coats are complete, I get to show you some of the fun stuff before our next episode. Number 1, you see me moving in a mirror? Well, guess what? I have about 50 of them. I've been collecting free mirrors for the past 2 months to do an entire mirrored accent wall. So that's what you see me measuring for here. I wanted to make sure I liked the design in my head. I'm not going to show you quite yet before I moved on to adding the paint color, which let me tell you, I'm so very in love. There we go. All right, sick. Oh, I'm excited about this. Ooh, fancy, for fancy. Oh boy, this is kind of nerve-wracking. This is big. Oh, I see it. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Oh, fun. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Oh, that's nice. Oh gosh, okay. Well. There we go, Rachel. We're getting the hang of it. It's a new tool. Regardless if it's paint or not, it's still a new tool. I ordered this Wagner paint roller online because you can load paint into the actual brush itself and then like squeeze it as you use it, and it made my life so much easier, made cleanup so much easier, and I didn't waste as much paint as I normally do. Talk about color. Oh my god, I love it. I didn't realize it matches my beanie. It matches the beanie, people. Oh my god, that's so sexy. Oh my goodness, a dash, a curry from Benjamin Moore. Are you joking me? Tuck me in. After I really did fall in love with color, that's when I dove into designing and ordering a couple of items. But now I'm spending the next week or so taking my time to thrift throughout Joshua Tree to make over this space. I mean, come on with the before and even just the current stage now. It is really incredible to have now a blank canvas I can actually work with. In the next episode, I'm gonna dive into making an accent ceiling. You heard me correct. My accent wall, which is, oh my God, you guys are not ready. And then finishing up the paint job and then doing DIY cement floors that any of you guys will be able to do as well. I cannot wait to finish off this series. It's just, I know it's a long time coming this month of May, but after this, it's makeover central over here. I am so grateful for your patience. I'm so excited where this is headed, and holy moly, don't you love that color? I'll see you soon for another DIY.